What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some of the special skills you can find in Divinity Original Sin 2. Some small spoilers here and there for a couple of things, so keep in mind if you don't want to know how the Red Prince's story ends, maybe don't watch this. Other than that, it should be okay. So these are in no particular order, but I am going to cover the two probably most well-known ones first. So starting with the cat summon. So if you're unaware, when you first arrive at Fort Joy, you can meet a black cat on the beach. This cat will run up to you and start following you. Now these days, with the gift bag that gives everyone the Pet Pal perk, you can actually just talk to it straight away. However, at one point you had to actually have the Pet Pal perk, which now actually just gives you 100% morale, whatever you want to call it, with the pets or animals, and everyone can just talk to animals right off the bat. You can speak to the cat. It is very clearly dazed and confused and won't stop following you around. Now it's very easy to get this cat killed. For instance, if you walk up to the guards at the gate, they will just shoot it with an arrow and it dies. However, if you manage to escape Fort Joy with the cat in tow, it manages to break free from its sort of mind fog and explains to you that it was a cat that once belonged to a wizard, and it thanks you for your help. Moreover, it explains that if you ever need help, you can summon it now. Now, like all summons, this is affected by your summoning ability, so however many points you have in summoning will affect this cat's stats. However, even if you don't have a lot of stats, and especially if you're not playing a summoner, it can actually still be pretty useful because this cat has the ability to jump around the battlefield, which is nice, but also it has a swap place ability, where it will just swap places with the person who summoned it wherever you guys are, which can help with some battlefield maneuverability. Now for our second skill, this is the second most well-known one and is the one with the Red Prince spoilers. So if you follow the Red Prince's origin story to his best conclusion, if you will. That is to say that you mated with the Red Princess after you found her, saved her from the God King, and hatched the egg that she laid, which turns out to be a dragon for story reasons, and then agree to take that dragonling with you when you leave Sadia, who is the Red Princess. You will unlock the Dragonling summon. This lets you summon a small red dragon to do combat with. It gets a bunch of good fire abilities, as well as flight, and again, operates off of your character's summoning skill, in this case specifically the Red Prince, as he's the only one who can use it. Now for our third ability, this is a personal favorite of mine just because of how much nonsense it is. In Linder Kim's manor, specifically the garden area, you can find a terrarium with a single plant inside of it, and you can go up to it, and even if you have the scholar tag, it'll be like, you have no idea what this is, and you can very temptingly press the button to take off the glass cage, at which point it turns out that the plant inside was called a wailing mandrake, and it starts bellowing at the top of its lungs. And from here, if you pick up the wailing mandrake and then eat it, which will stop the wailing, you actually gain the deafening shriek ability. Now this ability just attacks magic armor, and then if the target no longer has any magic armor, it sets deaf, which will then reduce the wits and accuracy stats. Now, honestly, not a super useful ability. I just thought this entire interaction was hilarious, and then it gives you an ability, so I thought it was really funny. Now, for our number 2 spot here, I think a decent amount of people will know about this one because there's actually an achievement related to getting it, and that is the Condor Summon that you can get in Act 2. So once you go to the Stone Garden, which is actually just a graveyard, there is a tower there where you can find a vulture named Featherfall. And once you go up there, it's pecking at its master's corpse. Now, in order to get this, it's important that you don't loot her master's corpse first. You need to talk to the bird first. Again, you have to have the relevant ability Pet Pal to actually speak to the bird. But once you do, Featherfall will explain that, its master's dead, obviously, and that if you want to become its new master, it's going to need you to eat at least a portion of the corpse of its old master. And if you do so, as well as pass a persuasion check, you can then become Featherfall's new master, allowing you to summon it at any given point. Now again, even if you're not a summoning character, this can be relatively useful because Featherfall has essentially a version of the tornado skill which clears ground effects. So Featherfall gets this ability called Gust, which will clear ground effects in a cone, which can be helpful in some areas where there's just tons of ground effects going on. And that leads me to one of my favorite abilities, just because it's hilarious, not so much because it's useful, and that is the Sabotage skill. So Sabotage is actually a skill book that you have to combine other skill books to get, which is a subject I actually haven't talked much about when it comes to Divinity. Each skill set, so things like Pyromancer, Aerosurge, all that stuff, can usually be combined with one of the non-elemental skills, such as Scoundrel or things like that, to create a new skill book that has a relevant effect. You do this via the crafting system. So in the case of Sabotage, we need a Pyromancer skill book and a Scoundrel skill book. It doesn't matter which one. But you combine those two and it gives you the Sabotage skill book. Sabotage is an ability that will detonate any grenades on a character's inventory, which, again, as you can imagine, is just funny. It's not super useful in terms of combat, to be honest, because most often the grenades aren't going to do that much. Honestly, going around town and just like setting off people's grenades in their inventory is just hilarious to me. It's rarely enough to actually kill anyone or anything, but it will get you caught by the guards and sent to jail, so that's funny. So there you go, guys, a look at 5 of the special skills in Divinity Original Sin 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.